Well, hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and my word for today is hoarder. Hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and I am without a doubt going to talk about being a hoarder. You know, a viewer left that comment for me this morning to say, actually, she didn't even address it to me. She said, she is a hoarder, not you are a hoarder. She was answering somebody else. And you know, I learned something when I was a professional speaker. You know, when you're a professional speaker, you have one chance to make an impression. That's it. You can't go back and correct it next week or do whatever. You know, you only have one opportunity. And I was always aware that you were not going to please all of the people all of the time, and that's a really important thing that it taught me. It was one of the first major plus lessons I got out of being a professional speaker, which other than, you know, make sure you got plan B, C, and D. But you know, it was really funny because I just pretended to run some people over, because it's an important lesson. What I would always expect was at least one or two pretty negative comments, and the reason I say that is because from my experience of being a professional speaker, you sometimes wondered whether the people making the comments were in the same room as everybody else. Do you know what I mean? It was just like you get all these incredible evaluations, and then there'd be this note from hell, and you'd go, were they even in the same room when you read what they were saying? You know, so I learned to get a bit of a sense of humor about it. So number one, you know, you're never going to please all of the people all of the time. But number two, don't ignore the negative comment. Another lesson I learned. So I've learned that not to ignore a negative comment, to be thankful for it, and to really read it and be aware. And the other thing I learned to do is ask yourself, is this true? You know, in other words, self-assess it. Do you agree that this is true? Never mind your immediate reaction. That isn't the important thing, because nobody wants to hear that they're a hoarder. So I asked myself, you know, is it true? And I looked at all the boxes and I went, yeah, that'd be pretty true. Don't like the word, but it's true. And then what I learned from being a speaker was, is it just one comment, or are the majority of the comments saying that? Now, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you probably thought it. And so here's what I've decided to do. I've decided to take that comment and turn it into a series. When I say into a series, I am literally going to show you why I am a hoarder. Or even if I am, and I'm pretty sure I am. Now the good news is, the really good news is, I've got an itsy bitsy teeny weeny little garbage can. About a third of the size of the one I used to have at my other house, which is where I'm going right now to meet 1-800-JUNK to get rid of the other stuff. So I'm only going to be able to put so much into a garbage can, and it's only every other week. So that also encourages me not to unpack too quickly, because we know a lot of it's going to end up in the garbage. On the other hand, I have a couple of spare garbage cans with me that I used to keep my tools in, and as you will have seen from yesterday's vlog, I now have a new place to keep my tools, so I have free garbage cans. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to store up the garbage in garbage cans or in garbage bags even, and just, bit by bit empty them into the whatever space is left every week, step by step. So what I did today was, I've got this routine where I sort of crawl out of bed, grab a coffee, and then I, take my blood sugar and check my resting heart rate, see how that is. That's fine. And then I start thinking about, what do I want to do today? As you know, I've always got a goal. And my number one goal today was that I would like to get that other big box that was in the living room empty. Now, the reason I need it empty is I can't make that look pretty until the boxes have gone. So that's my high focus area, is the stuff that is in boxes in the living room and dining room. But what I am trying to do as well is to unpack one box from each room every day. That's what my goal is. And yesterday, as you will have seen, in my exercise time, believe me, I'm getting a lot of steps in. My exercise time was to go and work in the shed, the garden shed. And hopefully you enjoyed what I managed to achieve in there in a short space of time. So what I decided I'm going to do is to thank the person whose name I will find and thank properly on the written bit of this. I want to thank them for saying that. Because my first reaction was hurt. I don't mind admitting that. My first reaction was hurt, and then I thought, wait a minute, what do I know? I know not to discount it. Is it true? Looked at the boxes and went, yes. But now I want to really thank you, because what you're about to see is why I'm a hoarder. I'm going to show you some of the memories and why I've still got them. And the first one I can think about is there's a Chinese box that's in my kitchen now. And that is a memory for me, because other than the fact it matches my kitchen beautifully, it's a memory for me because the parents who gave me that, filled with tea, Chinese tea, used to bring me the most incredible orchids as well. And the whole reason they bought me all these incredibly beautiful presents, and I don't mean an orchid from Safeway, I mean a bowl of stunning orchids that you could only normally see in a hotel or something. They used to bring those to me like every 3 months. They'd bring me a new bowl of orchids. So the Chinese box is to remind me that once in my life I helped one person, and that was their son. And for so long afterwards, they continued to be thankful. And it is a reminder to me that, you give a little and it's amazing what can come back. Not only did they pay me to help their son, but then they bought me these incredible gifts all the time. And, there'd be all sorts of things that they would bring. And then I've got a picture done in pencil. It is one of the few pictures that I have left that is actually not one of mine, and I've kept it because it reminds me of the time I used to dedicate to the women's prison. Every summer I would spend 3 or 4 weeks going to the women's prison and trying to teach them about things like one step at a time, and what is happening now doesn't have to define your life, it just defines your moment. And I have very fond memories of that time. For example, meeting a serial killer. When I say a serial killer, she'd offed about 8 people in her time. And you're not allowed to ask about that, but she told me. And I believed her. And I will always remember her. And somewhere in my memory box, I think, I still have a dream catcher that she taught me how to make. And my greatest memory of her is that, of that particular person, was that she I remember when I first met her, I said, you know, I got to tell you something. She said, what's that? I got to tell you, she hardly had space on her face that wasn't tattooed. Yeah, she was scary looking. I remember saying to her, I don't know how to tell you this, and I'm never even sure if I meant to or allowed to, but boy, I would not want to meet you down a dark alley some night. And she burst out laughing, literally burst out laughing. And she said, you know, Sal, the reason we listen to you, the reason that we talk to you is because you are so honest. You don't sugarcoat things, you just say it like it is, and we respect that. And she said, by the way, Sal, you're quite right. You would not want to meet me down a dark alley at night. Anyway, it was very interesting because over the years, or the weeks that and years that I did it, I found out that all the people she had killed had abused her. She had been abused by a series of men. And when they abused her, she killed them. Who am I to judge? Me too. And not that I've killed anybody, but, you know, I can understand the feeling. That's for sure. Anyway, so the line drawing came from another inmate. And it was, you know, it was given with such a great grace that I've always treasured it. Because really, when you think about it, inmates don't have a lot to share. And she did share that. 8,800 steps. Resting heart rate of 96. That doesn't surprise me, and I'll explain why. 1-800-JUNK. Done. And at a good price. I think a fair price. So before I forget about the other memory I wanted to talk about and tell you about what I've been up to, I just wanted to just tell you this one memory. And, you know, just as I was wondering, maybe even beating up on myself a bit about being a hoarder, I turned something over. And you know, I love it when God does things like this for you. And I'm sure he does it for you the same as he does it for me. I turned this one thing over, and underneath it there was a postcard. And it came from Fort Lauderdale. And it was dated 10 years ago. So you do understand that that should have gone into the junk pile a long time ago. But you know, I turned it over and I read it. I already knew who it was from. But I turned it over because I wanted to remind myself why I had kept it. And it was from Benji. And basically, what he said, I'm not going to show you a picture of what he said, obviously, because it's private, but basically what he said within what he wrote, and he wrote quite a bit that day, he wrote that one day he would be speaking in front of an audience, and then he would fly me down so I could listen. One day, right? Now, it's a decade later, and with tears in my eyes, not only has he flown me down to listen to him, and some of you have seen me on those trips, and by the way, that's why I go on those trips with him, is because he loves to have me there when he's speaking, when it's possible. And I've been on those trips with him, and I've sat in the audience, and I give him a hard time, yeah. And the reason I do is because I knew he would be so good. And so I obviously, when I saw it, and I thought, isn't that amazing, that the coinky-dinky, or coincidence, that I don't believe in coincidences, but look at that coinky-dinky, right? I get a comment from a viewer about being a hoarder, and I pick up something I've held on to for 10 years. And I took a picture of it, and I sent the picture to Benji, and I said, honey, what a difference a decade makes. And I'm pretty certain you can all understand the impact that had on Benji. And I can't help but think, what if I'd thrown it away? I wouldn't have had that opportunity to make his day. And I'm sure it did. So yeah, there's some bad things about being, hanging on to too much stuff, which I will always do, and it's my right. I look at it this way, that some people have smaller places with less in it, but rent themselves a storage shed to keep their stuff in. I just, buy it outright. I've got a big storage shed, people. And literally, that's how I look at it. At this stage of my life, that is my right, right? But also, as you're going to see, because that's what I've decided, I'm going to show you why I've held on to these things. Because they probably mean nothing to anybody else, but they mean the world to me. And I can remember when I downsized my mother for the last time. From her, she went, and I need to explain this to you, my mom went from the equivalent of a miniature Downton Abbey, with all that it entailed, with servants and gongs for meals and all those sort of things, people banging a gong because it was a warning that you had 10 minutes to get down to the dining room for dinner. She went from living like that to living with me for a while, living with my brother for a while when I left to come to Canada. And then she ended up living in a small 2-bedroom place. And it must have been horrific for her to downsize that way. And then I went to do the downsize for her when she went into care, where she had a 1-room, and the decisions needed to be made. What did she want to hold on to? And it was really interesting, and I didn't judge any of it. I didn't care if it was a photograph where she cut out people because she didn't like those people. I knew that it was her right to finish her days with the things she loved around her. And it really was interesting what she loved. And the memories. And so I'm just really delighted. It's been a really great day. So let me just explain. If I ever do this again, people, could you just put a big reminder? Sal, if you're going to be working in storage rooms and a garage that has not been really gutted and cleaned in 20 years, maybe wear a face mask would have been a good idea. And maybe don't bother having a shower in the morning, because you're going to need one when you get home. So just if I do it again, guys, just remind me. So now on the checklist, we have 2 things left that I know of. Tomorrow is sign all the documentation. I will sign both the sale and the purchase tomorrow. And then what happens is the notary public will hold on to both, and then as they're needed, she releases them with my signature already on them. And then they juggle the money around, and then I think on Friday, I pick up the check. Now the check will be the balance of whatever is left between what I owed the bank and what the purchase price was. So there's going to be a moment on Friday between the 2 broadcasts where I will be totally debt free. And can say I did it. And I really want to say that I really thank all of you who've walked this journey with me. The other achievement that I did today was I got to say goodbye to one of my neighbors of 20 years. Well, actually, they haven't been there 20 years. But I got to say goodbye to the wife. And give her a hug. And I said, I don't want to hug you. I'm covered with creepy crawlies and cobwebs and nasties and dirty. And she said, I don't care, so. And I just said, thank you so much for being such a great neighbor. Now, you know what makes a great neighbor? We waved a lot to each other. What makes a great neighbor? I'd catch him, her husband, edging the front of my lawn. You know, when he was doing the front of his curb, he would just keep going down mine. They used to make me cry. When he was putting up his Christmas lights, he'd put extra ones up on that part of my garden that was near his. Mind you, it made his garden look twice the size, and I understood that worked really well for him too. What makes a great neighbor? Everything. They just were really nice people, and still are, apparently. And will continue to be. Just because I'm leaving does not mean they're going to change. No. And it was so cute because she said, you will be coming back, won't you? I said, well, I'm hoping Yvonne will still talk to me. So I'm hoping I will see them. I haven't said goodbye. I said goodbye also to my neighbor on the other side's daughter. The daughter gave me a hug. It's the same thing. And that was the cutest thing, because after I'd given her a hug, she got in her car to reverse out of her driveway, and she hit the garbage can, which luckily, of course, is plastic. So it was just close to where I was standing. I was grateful she hit the can and not me. I now see why she's got an N on her car. So anyway, I moved the can for her so she could get a second run at it. And then I said, watch out for that Jeep. Such a cutie. And so this is actually my second to last visit. No, I lie. Tomorrow will be my second to last. Because what I'm doing is tomorrow I will go do a bit more cleaning. I'm going to do the decks tomorrow. Clean the decks off the outside space, sweep the courtyard, the forecourt and stuff. I'm going to do that. And then go and sign the papers. So I better take a change of clothes with me tomorrow. and remind me before I leave. And then Wednesday's Molly made. And then my realtors, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but my realtors gave me the opportunity to hand over the keys to the new people of my house. And I said to them, but they also understand my problem. And they offered to hand the keys over because they said they knew that it would be difficult for me. So I asked them if they would do it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a note to them that I'm going to ask them to either email or read to the new owners and just explain it's just too traumatic. And Friday I get the money. I think maybe even Thursday. It's possible I might get the money on Thursday. And then I start the rest of my life. This dog's owner just went in the store. And I want you to watch this dog. Where's my daddy? Doesn't he look sad? And the focus on that store door. And that's why I love dogs. Such a pretty dog, by the way. That's definitely got Border Collie in him. Well mixed with some others, but Border Collie, I would think, with those ears and that tricolour. He just wants his daddy to come home. I thought that was so cute. Well, it is 7 o'clock, 11,000 steps today. And the only box in here is the office. In other words, anything to do with the office is sitting in that box because I haven't worked out where to put the office yet. But look at that. Nothing left on the floor. Just amazing. It's beginning to take shape. So this is basically what you see when you walk inside the door. And starting to get some glassware out. Unpack some of that today. There's a lot more to come. Pictures are starting to come out. Forgot about those two. Never mind, I'll work it out. But isn't that great space? So this is now looking... Hang on, let me sit. If I sit on this... Okay, so that is the available space. That's a dance floor there. I'm doing it. It's hard work. But one step at a time.